Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really profound philosophical framework. We're going to look at how belief actually acts as a massive psychological anchor for us, no matter what stage of life we're in. We so often think of belief as this purely private, quiet comfort, right? But the source material we're looking at today argues something way bigger. It suggests belief is literally the foundational glue holding society together generation after generation. Let's get right into it. So, Section 1, does life have an end? Now, this is the ultimate question, isn't it? Is there an end to this life or a continuation? And what's fascinating is how this question forces us to look at mortality through totally different human archetypes. Because think about it, the way we process the idea of an ending or what comes after, it's not static at all. It shifts so dramatically depending on where we are in our own lives. I mean, does the answer to this huge question really carry the exact same weight for a teenager as it does for a grandparent? Just picture these four groups for a second: a child, an elderly person, an angry youth, and a family unit. Does the continuation of life matter equally to all of them? Well, our source text, which draws heavily from the philosophy of Bediüzzaman, actually breaks society down into these specific categories. For a young child, belief basically offers this comforting, protective bubble where they feel safe and watched over in a big universe. But to really grasp how powerful this framework is, we need to break down how this psychological tool works for the other three pillars. That brings us to Section 2, the elderly and the approaching grave. So, for folks in the later stages of life, the text argues that the harsh reality of mortality is really only made bearable through the hope of a hereafter. Bediüzzaman points out something incredibly poignant here. He says that without this belief, the sheer prospect of absolute nothingness would just be psychologically crushing. So the belief in a continuation isn't just a nice thought. It acts as this absolutely vital coping mechanism. It calms them when they're facing the ultimate unknown. Moving right along to Section 3, youth and the need for justice. Now, Bediüzzaman identifies the youth as the absolute powerhouse of social life. They're the engine. But as we all know, with great energy comes a whole lot of volatility. So what actually restrains those intense, fiery passions? Well, the text points directly to accountability, specifically the concept that our actions have ultimate consequences. Without this kind of internal compass, the source suggests society would just naturally spiral into a place where the rule of the strong dictates literally everything. And we see a really stark contrast here. On one hand, when belief acts as a sort of brake pedal, the youth are restrained. They actually stop and consider the consequences of their actions way beyond just the immediate moment. But take away that ultimate accountability, we're left looking at a world where the strong just crush the weak. So the source actually views this belief as the ultimate protector of the vulnerable in our society. It's a real game changer when you think about it. Okay, Section 4, eternity of family bonds. According to the text, true enduring love inside a household is completely anchored in the idea that family connections are eternal. The family is, the central nucleus of human life. But let's be honest, maintaining deep respect and love when hardships inevitably pop up is incredibly difficult. The argument here is fascinating. If a family truly believes their connection is just going to be permanently wiped out by death, that impending loss actually chips away at their compassion right now. But believing they're going to be reunited, that elevates their everyday interactions into something permanent and enduring. Let's zoom out a bit for Section 5, the balance upholding society. When we pull all these arguments together, they reveal this incredibly balanced ecosystem. Think about it. The thought of an afterlife protects the child, right? They need to know they're safe in a just, orderly universe. It calms the elderly when they face death. It totally restrains the youth from falling into oppression, and it unites the family with the promise of eternity. The text makes a really bold claim here. If you pull out this central pillar of belief, you risk completely collapsing the psychological well-being of the entire social structure. The source actually bridges these philosophical arguments with a beautiful verse from the Quran, Surah Ar-Rum. It states that spouses are created from one another specifically to find peace, and that love and mercy are placed between them. Now, looking at this through the framework we've just discussed, this mercy is preserved and even amplified when a family views their relationship not just as some fleeting contract, but as an eternal, unbreakable bond. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want you to reflect on these four pillars and ask yourself where you currently stand in this wild journey of life. Are you in that energetic, youthful phase, maybe needing a bit of accountability? Are you building a family and seeking to really anchor your love? Or perhaps you're caring for an elder who could use some of that profound comfort. Which of these groups do you honestly think relies on this framework the most? And how does looking through this lens change the way you view the people around you today? I'm going to leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining me.